So Republicans in Congress hoping to overhaul the tax system next year. It is a move that would affect Americans at every income level and businesses big and small. Lawmakers haven't revamped the tax code in 30 years. How is that possible? House and Senate leaders promising new tax package will not add to the budget deficit. Gene Marks is a Washington Post contributor. He is also a CPA who is the owner of the Marks Group PC, and he is a small business advocate. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. You heard in the last segment, everybody said it all came down to dealing with the tax code first, which is interesting. That's like doing your math, eating your broccoli
I know,
out of the
like
gate.
which comes before him.
It's a pain in the neck, but it's essential. We heard 30 years is a long time.
You know,
a lot has changed.
I actually remember the last tax overhaul 30 years
that
ago,
is sad.
which is really,
yes.
It is. It's making me a little depressed right now.
Individual rates will go down. That's one thing that you're saying out of the gate, and a lot of people thinking about that as we come to the end of the year here. To 3 brackets, maxing out at 33%, corporate rates will go down. What does that mean?
So what that means is, first of all, none of this is decided. We don't know for sure if this is going to happen. Right. But there's a lot of agreement in D.C. about this happening this year. And as a CPA, we're advising our clients to expect lower taxes next year. You're going to have lower taxes, and I'm going to have lower taxes next year. Right now, the top tax rate individually is 39.6%. So there is agreement between both Trump's plan and Ryan's plan as well, Paul Ryan in the House, to bring it down to a top rate of 33% for individuals, which is really great news.
There was a, sort of a, well, I guess it's not a myth because it's true, but there were people talking about the fact that some people's taxes could go up in the new year. That would be a result of anticipating making more money. Yeah. So you could pay more tax, but net, you will have more money to take home because that's built on the idea that the income is growing. They're also talking about the standard deduction increasing significantly. And for some people, they might say, well, wait a second, that sounds like we're giving everyone a free holiday, but that's about eliminating a lot of the loopholes or trying to get people to skip them, right?
Sure. I mean, the whole, the whole hope is that we get all of our tax returns done onto a postcard. Remember, you heard that promise being made? And again, as a CPA, I don't think I'd want that because that would really limit my work. But the standard deduction is something that we have the option of taking as opposed to itemizing our deductions. It's $6,300 for an individual, $12,600 for married couples. Making it bigger reduces the complexity, because if you're going to do your tax returns at the end of the year, rather than tiling up all of the itemized deductions and all the different things that you can do, just say, you know what, why don't I just take the standard deductions as one line, that's what it is, makes it easier. And the reason why they're proposing that is because as much as Congress and President-elect Trump wants to simplify the tax code, they're leaving in some things out there that remains sort of complex. They're going to leave in the deduction for charities. They're going to leave in mortgage deductions. They're going to leave in a child care deduction, even a child care credit. So suddenly you're taking these things, you're taking like the tax code, we're going to simplify, but now they're leaving some of these things in. So when you leave that door open, doesn't that sort of open up the door to more of these things? So the higher the standard deduction, the less complex the tax returns.
So as soon as a plan gets rolled out, immediately the fighting begins over what the deficit is going to look like and how much more debt we're going to be. And one thing that drives me crazy is that when we do this math, it's very hard to anticipate going forward how much growth is going to be created as a result of lower taxes. So we talk about static versus dynamic accounting, which means, like, are you assuming the economy is going to grow by so much? Are you assuming the economy is going to be the same? This is where a lot of the fight comes down to. We don't really know the truth until it happens.
And don't you find the same way? I mean, look, it's part of your job. You interview economists and people that are experts in this topic, and you can get 10 people in one room saying, well, if we make these assumptions, this is going to happen. Another 10 people are going to have the exact opposite view. Right now, between the House Republicans, their tax plan would increase the deficit over 10 years by $3 trillion. That seems like a lot. However, Donald Trump's plan right now would increase the deficit by $10 trillion, by some estimates. Those are enormous numbers, particularly when our national debt right now is working on $20 trillion. Is that a good number? Is that a bad number? Is that manageable? There are some economists that say, listen, national debt is like your mortgage. If we can have maintenance on it, if the economy is growing and we can make the payments on it, it's okay to have big numbers. You'll have economists that disagree entirely. That's going to be the biggest argument in Washington is we want all these tax deductions. Who's going to pay for it? And whose assumptions make more sense?
So I always love to get down to people who are in the trenches like yourself that deal with taxes and stuff, and setting aside the idea that if it's simpler, maybe that's less work and revenue for you. What's your gut reaction?
I don't think it will be simpler. I don't think that it will be any less work for me. I think that as human beings, we tend to make things more complex just to justify our own existence. So we'll start from one place like we did 30 years ago. Look what's happened in the past 30 years. The code has gotten more and more complex. There are too many special interests out there, Melissa, that are going to be arguing for their rights, their deductions, their credits, their incentives. So you're never going to have that sort of postcard tax return. It's always going to grow in simplicity. But I will tell you this much, taxes will go down next year.
Yeah.
Whether or not we believe how it's going to be funded or not, we will be paying less taxes next year, and let's hope that that actually contributes to growth.
Let's hope that means growth, because when people have more money in their pocket, they feel
it.
better, they spend more, businesses invest.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see this economy take off. Thank you for your expertise.
You got it. Thanks
really
for having me on.
Appreciate it. John.